Hello and welcome back to our Lord of the Rings LCG solo progression series, and today's quest is the Blood of Gondor, which is the 5th adventure pack in the Against the Shadow cycle. Quick reminder, in this series we're playing through each quest in chronological order of the game's initial release, and we'll only be using player cards that were available at the time of this quest release. I'm calling this deck Siege Kings because we will defeat this quest by siege questing, and so we built our deck to do well in siege questing. And in fact, I've included one of the best siege questers in the game. Baragon's making his first appearance, and he is from Heirs of Numenor. Gondor and warrior traits, 10 threat, 0 willpower, 1 attack, 4 defense, and 4 health. He has Sentinel, and you can lower the cost to play weapon and armor attachments on Baragon by 2. And so if we happen to have a Gondorian shield, we can play that for free, attach that to Baragon. He is now siege questing for 6, so even better than Beorn in battle questing. So Baragon's great, and not just for siege questing. He's great in any kind of combat-oriented deck. Legolas is from the core set. We just haven't had occasion to use him. And obviously he won't be siege questing. We're using him for attack and for his response. Noble and Sylvan and warrior traits, 9 threat, 1 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, and 4 health. He has ranged and he has a response. After Legolas participates in an attack that destroys an enemy, place 2 progress tokens on the current quest. So it's like he has a couple of Blades of Gondolin attached to him. And so he can really help us in these combat-heavy quests to actually make some progress, much-needed progress. This is a quest that will basically be rushing. I usually win in 4 to 5 rounds. I've won it in as little as 3. Losses can occur, but it's pretty rare. It's a pretty easy quest if you build the deck correctly. But let's get to the quest and see how we do. We will arrange our heroes and then look at our opening hand. And I like that I have a Gondorian shield. I like that I have a weapon. I wish I had maybe foe hammer to go along with the weapon, but having a Gondorian shield is good. I'll just keep this opening hand. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. And let's, well, actually, before we look at 1A, let me just talk to you about a mechanic in this quest called hidden cards, because you'll see the word hidden cards on side B here. It talks about hidden cards. This mentions hidden cards. Black Numenorian mentions hidden cards. And so let's go ahead and just define what that is. In this quest, and it's specific to Blood of Gondor, the rules insert tells us that occasionally we'll have to take hidden cards. And all that means is we take a face down card off the top of the encounter deck and we put it in our play area face down. And you can accumulate these. You can get multiple hidden cards. And when we have possession of hidden cards, it affects other cards, such as Black Numenorian's threat value is based on the number of hidden cards. But what these do is really, there's a little bit of interplay with cards like Black Numenorian, but not too much. But what these do is when the game forces us to turn a hidden card face up, or maybe even all of them, we take the hidden cards and we turn them face up. Any locations are discarded, any treacheries are discarded, but enemies are put into play, engaged with us. And so all of a sudden, you know, you can be just sneak attacked by multiple enemies. Sometimes, though, you discard hidden cards and it's just treacheries and locations. But that's basically what they are, and we'll see how we get those through various encounter card effects. The ambush says, after the assault on Osgiliath, Lord Alcaron urges Boromir to pursue the retreating enemy. Boromir agrees and gives the mission to Faramir and his rangers. Grateful for your valiant efforts in Gondor's defense, Faramir invites you to join the hunt. For setup, we add the Crossroads and Black Numenorian to the staging area. Let's look at those 2 cards. The Crossroads has a threat of X. X is equal to the number of players in the game, so it's just going to be 1 threat. And there is a travel effect that mentions a hidden card. First player must take 1 hidden card to travel here. So if we wanted to travel here, during the travel opportunity, we travel and we take a face-down hidden card. But we actually will not be traveling here because it says at the very top of the card, you can see the current quest card gains siege. And this is true regardless of where crossroads is in play. If it's in staging, if it's the active location. Obviously, though, if it's out of play, then that goes away. We want to siege quest because stage 1 is normal questing. Stage 2, which is the final stage, is battle questing. And it's hard to build a deck that does well in willpower and attack. So we're just going to just leave crossroads in the staging area. It doesn't hurt us. It's only one threat. And so we'll leave it in the staging area. And in doing that, we are now in siege questing. So let's go ahead and change over to siege quest. And that way we use our defensive values to quest, and we're going to, we've built our deck accordingly. Here's Black Numenorian, 35 engagement, and it has a threat of X. X is the total number of hidden cards in the game. Right now there aren't any, so his threat is 0. There's also a force effect we'll need to remember at the end of the round. Each player must raise his threat by 1 for each hidden card in his play area. So if I have 2 or 3, my threat goes up by however many hidden cards at the end of the round. Then we put the Faramir and Lord Alcaron objective allies into play. So we actually take control of both Faramir and Lord Alcaron. They both say the first player gains control of them. Both of them, if they leave play, the players have lost the game, so we have to make sure that doesn't happen. But each one of these has different willpower, attack, and defensive values, but also different actions. Faramir's is a combat action. Exhaust Faramir to turn a hidden card face up. If that card is an enemy, deal 3 damage to it. And so let's just say we had a hidden card here, and just sometime during the combat phase, during round 1, we exhaust Faramir, we reveal the hidden card. Look, it's an Orc Ambusher, but immediately it's 3 damage is placed on it, it leaves play. And we didn't have to worry about the effect, the forced effect from when it engaged us. And he's really, really effective against the enemies. There's only 3 in the entire deck that would survive Faramir's combat action. It's 3 copies of Brutal Uruk, which has 5 health. Everything else has 3 or less. So he's really effective in this deck, but we'll see in a minute he doesn't stay in play for too long. Lord Alcaron has an action which we won't worry about using. We're just going to quest with him since we are in siege questing. And lastly, we reveal a card from the encounter deck. 1 per player and added to the staging area. It is Scourge of Mordor. When revealed, each player discards the top card of his deck. Until the end of the phase, raise the total threat in the staging area by X. X would be the total cost of all cards discarded by this effect. Now we're in setup, so we do this effect, and so the staging area goes up by 2 threat until the end of the phase, which whenever you have an end of the phase card revealed during setup, it would last through the resource phase. So nothing happened other than we lost a Watcher of the Bruinen. All right, side B says you've pursued the enemy all the way to the crossroads when a wicked horn blares in the distance. Within minutes, a host of orcs swarms out of the trees from all sides, led by a foreboding robed figure, and that would be the Black Numenorian. And so you can see here there are 2 toggles, or 3 actually. The first one here, at the beginning of the quest phase, each player takes 1 hidden card. And so that's one of the ways we'll begin to accumulate these. And that would be before we commit characters and all that. We have to, this is in the discard pile, that's right. Another sort of toggle here, can't think of another word, is right here at the beginning of the combat phase. At the beginning of the combat phase, each player must either turn each of his hidden cards face up or take 1 hidden card. So we have a choice there to accumulate hidden cards or to gamble and turn them face up. If they're an enemy, they engage us. If not, they're discarded. And just remember that the number of hidden cards we have is what affects Black Numenorian's threat value and the forced effect that raises our threat by each hidden card we have. And that's what this 3rd toggle is, the end of the round reminder. So there's 3 times we'll have to think about during stage 1 that we have to think about hidden cards. Okay, so resource phase. And we will go ahead and attach Gondorian Shield. Now you would think that I would want to attach it to Baragon because it's free, but Boromir is going to be our primary defender. We'll generally just quest with Baragon, and so we want Boromir to have a little bit more defense. He'll also quest, so we attach this to a hero, and it's restricted and limit of 1 per hero, so you can only have 1 on a hero. You can't boost your defense by +4 by putting 2 out. Attached hero gains +1 defense. However, if it is a Gondor traded hero, then it gets +2. And so that means that Boromir's defense is +2. He is defending for 4 the rest of the game. And then we have 2 resources left. Let's go ahead and put out a Dagger of Westernesse, and we'll attach it to Legolas. Attached to a hero, restricted. Attached hero gets +1 attack, +2 instead if attacking an enemy with an engagement cost higher than your threat. And that won't happen. So he's really just going to have +1. But there are quite a few, like the Orc Ambusher, which we saw earlier, has a combined health and defense of 4. And so Dagger of Westernesse makes a big difference in Legolas being able to destroy an enemy versus just damage it. Now, I don't have an accompanying card like Foe Hammer, but maybe by next round we can get one. And I'm going to just save this resource for the potential of playing behind the strong walls during round 1. Okay, at the beginning of the quest phase, we have a toggle here. It's telling us that each player takes a hidden card, so let's do that. We took a face down card and we put it in our play area. And by having a hidden card, it means that the Black Numenorean's threat is 1, because his X value is based on the total number of hidden cards in the game. There's just 1. And now we commit characters, and we are siege questing. And so you'll see we'll commit Lord Alcaron, Boromir, and Baragond. And so we're doing pretty well. We're questing for 10, but we'll leave Legolas and Faramir ready. So now we move on to staging, and we reveal Northern Road. Okay, so we made 4 progress. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And during the travel phase, we will travel to Northern Road. The travel effect says the first player must take 1 hidden card to travel here. I don't really want to leave 4 threat in staging, so we'll travel here and take a hidden card to have done that. When we took our second hidden card, it means Black Numenorean now has a threat of 2. Okay, so now we have the encounter phase, and we have an option. We can optionally engage Black Numenorean. He's not immune to player card effects. During the encounter phase here at the beginning, during the optional engagement, we'll say we did it during the travel phase. After traveling here, we have an action window. Let's ready Boromir. We'll use his action to ready him, and we raise our threat by 1 to ready Boromir once per phase. All right, so we have an option to optionally engage Black Numenorean. If we do, could we destroy him? We'd have to get 8 attack out, which we have 3 + 3 + 1. Well, actually, because his threat is higher, Legolas and Boromir would successfully destroy Black Numenorean. I think I want to optionally engage him, so let's go ahead and get him out of play. So at the beginning of the combat phase, or during the encounter phase actually, we optionally engage Black Numenorean. And now at the beginning of the combat phase, there's a toggle, and it tells us that we have to either take a hidden card or we turn each of our hidden cards face up. I don't want the potential of 3 enemies engaged with me, so I'll just take a hidden card, which means the Black Numenorean's threat is 3. And so at the end of the round, our threat will go up by 3, unless we destroy Black Numenorean. All right, he's going to get a shadow card during combat, and he is going to attack for 5. And what we're going to do is just defend with Boromir. So this is 5 attack against 4 defense, because remember he's boosted for +2 by Gondorian Shield. So 5 against 4, and the shadow says deal the attacking enemy an additional shadow card for each player in the game, and no shadow effect. And so 5 against 4 means 1 damage on Boromir. And during the action window, after applying the damage, let's ready Boromir. We raise our threat by 1. Once per phase, we can do that. Let's go ahead and attack now for 3 and 3 + 2, because the Black Numenorean has an engagement cost higher than our threat. Our threat's 32, so Legolas is actually attacking for 5. Boromir is attacking for 3. That is enough to destroy Black Numenorean. So he goes to the victory display, and we don't have to worry about him anymore. I don't always get to do that, but it made sense in this playthrough. Now, in response, Legolas has this response. After Legolas participates in an attack that destroys an enemy, place 2 progress tokens on the current quest. So we place 2 progress tokens on Northern Road. We actually don't go straight to the quest. The active location acts as a buffer. All right, so we have an action window. After destroying an enemy, after applying damage, there is a final action window. And so we're going to take advantage of that action window and use Faramir's combat action. Exhaust Faramir to turn a hidden face card face up. If that card is an enemy, deal 3 damage to it. And so here we go. Let's see what this one is. It is a treachery. It's just discarded. So no enemy. We were hoping that it was something like Orc Ambusher or Orc Arsonist, because then it would be destroyed. But, at least we have 1 less hidden card. All right, at the end of the round, we refresh for the refresh phase, and Black Numenorian is out of play, so our threat will not increase based on the number of hidden cards that we have. All right, round 2. Okay, great to see Foehammer. If we can destroy an enemy this round, we'll draw some cards. That's a great draw there. All right, we have 4 resources. Let's go ahead and 1, 2, 3. Let's play Gondorian Spearman and Vassal of the Windlord. Now, in this quest, there are these Orc Ambusher enemies, and let me show you that. There are 4 of them. Forest, after Orc Ambusher engages you, whether it's through a face-up hidden card or, if you just engage it normally, you have to discard 1 non-objective ally you control. And so in my deck, I have several Vassal of the Windlords and Knights of the Swan. They're basically just cheaper allies that can be used to discard to the Orc Ambusher's effect. And it protects cards possibly like Gondorian Spearman or Defender of Ramas, something like that. Okay, so actually, I'm not going to put out Vassal of the Windlord. We don't know what's coming, but potentially, if there were a 3 health enemy, we could just defend with Gondorian Spearman. Its response would damage that enemy, and then we could play Swift Strike as a response and destroy the enemy and not lose Gondorian Spearman. So I'll take a risk that I won't get an Orc Ambusher. If we do, Gondorian Spearman is not a major loss. It's not like losing Defender of Ramas or a Winged Guardian or something like that. So we've done everything we want. We're just hanging on to the possibility of Swift Strike or, the possibility of behind strong walls. Okay, at the beginning of the quest phase, we have to take a hidden card. And so let's do that. We have 3 now. And there's no Black Numenorian for the threat to adjust. But let's quest with our defensive characters here. And so we'll make 9 progress. And we reveal another location. So not a lot of combat in this particular playthrough. So 7 progress means 6 on the current quest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we didn't quite clear the quest in stage 2. Well, we might during the combat phase. Let's see. Okay, so do we want to travel here? I'd say no, because to travel here we have to take a hidden card, and 2 threats not as bad. This one was a 4 threat, so I just would leave Southern Road in staging. Okay, during the travel phase, well, let's do this. Let me go ahead and raise my threat by 1 during the travel phase to ready Boromir. We can do that once per phase. Okay, nothing to encounter. At the beginning of the combat phase, I can either take a hidden card or turn all of these face up. I might as well turn all of these face up because when we advance, it's going to force us to do that anyway. So let's turn these face up one at a time. Any enemies would be added to the staging area or added to in play engage with us. So here is an Evil Crow. I'm going to go ahead and put these up here so I don't get confused. When we engage Evil Crow force, when Evil Crow engages a player, that player takes 1 hidden card. So we actually got 1 back here. And then here is Orc Ambusher force. After Orc Ambusher engages you, discard 1 non-objective ally you control. We only control 1, so we lost Gondorian Spearman. And here's another one, Orc Arsonist Forced. When Orc Arsonist engages a player, deal 1 shadow card to each enemy engaged with that player. And so let's go ahead and do that all at once. So that was the worst one to get last, because now everybody's already got a shadow card. And this was, we are actually we did this during the encounter phase. Or at the beginning of the combat phase is when we did this. Remember, we chose to turn all of the cards face up. And so now we have the step in the combat phase where we deal shadow cards. So all of these enemies are going to have 2 shadows. And we're glad we have Behind Strong Walls. I could either play Behind Strong Walls, or I could use Swift Strike to destroy Evil Crow altogether. This says response after a character is declared as a defender, deal 2 damage to the attacking enemy. Now I want to be careful. I want to try to use Faramir's action. So before I do anything, just during this combat action window, we'll wait until the enemy attacks. Let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to use Faramir's attack, but just in a minute. Do I want to use Swift Strike on Evil Crow? If I defend Orc Arsonist with Boromir, I think it's better for me to use Behind Strong Walls, to be honest. So Boromir is going to defend the first attack, which is Orc Arsonist. And as soon as he exhausts to defend, I'm going to play Behind Strong Walls action, ready a defending Gondor character. So we ready Boromir. And he will get +1 defense until the end of the phase. And so he actually is defending for 5 until the end of the phase. So that means Orc Arsonist is attacking for 3. Boromir's defending for 5. He's just not exhausted anymore. Let's see what shadows we get. None and none. So he blocked that, no problem. And now let's defend against the Orc Ambusher, 3 against 5. And this says attacking enemy gets +1, so 4 attack against Boromir, but Boromir was defending for 5. Now we can use Boromir's action, raise your threat by 1 to ready Boromir. And we can only do that once per phase. Now here's Evil Crow, only attacking for 1, so you would think, I think because I've got Gondorian Discipline, I'm going to take this undefended. The worst thing that can happen is that he has an Orc Ambusher, because as you can see, Orc Ambusher's shadow says +3 if the attack is undefended. But what we can do is we can cancel damage. Gondorian Discipline is almost like healing in Tactics, cancel up to 2 points of damage just dealt to a Gondor character. So we can't afford Swift Strike anyway, but to play it, you would have to declare a character as a defender, which exhausts them. So we're just going to take this undefended and hope that we don't see an Orc Ambusher. But 1 attack, undefended. There's an Orc Ambusher, so it's going to give him +3, so he's got 4 attack at this point. Deal him in another shadow card, and there's no effect. So this is 4 undefended damage. I have nowhere to put that. If I put it on Legolas, he's dead. If I put it on Baragond, he's dead. So I'm going to put it on Boromir, and he would die because he can take 5 damage. He already has a point, though. But in response, we can cancel up to 2 points of damage just dealt to a Gondor character. So I wouldn't have taken this undefended if I didn't have that. But that 4 attack, that 4 damage is actually going to just be 2 damage. So Boromir survives. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on Baragond rather than Boromir. Let's do that because he's going to continue to be our defender most likely. So let's just, he is a Gondorian hero, so we can do that in response to that damage. So we only got 2 damage. That's the right way to go. All right, so we are about to advance. Before we do, though, because when we do, we will have to turn this card face up. Let's use Faramir's combat action. Combat action exhausts Faramir to turn a hidden card face up. We're in an enemy attacks or a player attacks at this point. We've moved on. So if this is a brutal Uruk, he won't be able to attack us. But let's exhaust him and reveal a brutal Uruk. Okay. So he is damaged for 3. But doesn't kill him. But we did reveal him and damage him at least. If it would have been, Orc Ambusher or Evil Crow or Orc Arsonist, it would have died immediately. Sort of like a Thalon, an immediate direct damage like Expecting Mischief or something like that. But the good news is we are in player attacks, and so he's not going to get the shadow card. He's not going to attack. We're past the enemy attacks part of everything. So we want to destroy an enemy or two. I think it doesn't make sense to destroy Brutal Uruk because we could deal with him easily next round with a Swift Strike. So let's go ahead and attack for 4 here. Legolas is attacking for 4. 3+1 from Dagger of Westerness can destroy Orc Ambusher. Let's do that. And so his response fires. After Legolas participates in an attack that destroys an enemy, place 2 progress tokens on the current quest. So we've just cleared the ambush, but also in response to having destroyed the Orc Ambusher, let's play Foehammer. Response: after a hero you control attacks and destroys an enemy, exhaust a weapon card to attach that hero to draw 3 cards. So let's play Foehammer and draw 3 cards. Very good. It's good to have another weapon and even a Goblin Cleaver to go with it. Okay, so we are still in player attacks, but we have advanced past the ambush. Captured. Faramir and Lord Alcron have been captured. Through the throng of warriors, you see their bloody, torn forms rushed eastward by a band of Uruks. You must move quickly to prevent the unthinkable. If there is to be any hope of rescuing your friends, you must first fight your way out of the ambush. When revealed, place Faramir and Lord Alcron under captured. And so that's one reason why I wanted to go ahead and use Faramir before destroying the Orc Ambusher, because as soon as I destroyed the Orc Ambusher, we would have advanced and Faramir's action would have gone to waste, and we'd have a card that we had yet to reveal. But these 2 objective allies are placed under captured, and notice it says they are in play, but the players cannot gain control of them. And I'm glad it says that, because it says if Faramir leaves play or if Lord Alcron leaves play, you lose the game. So that's a good thing that they're not out of play. Each player turns each of his hidden cards face up, but remember we took care of this face down card. So just a reminder that at the beginning of this combat phase, we turned hidden cards face up, and we had 3 enemies. One of those was Evil Crow, which gave us a hidden card. That's why we had one. So we've done everything, I think, by the book. All right, so we have advanced. There's no hidden card to turn face up. Captured puts us in battle questing. However, Crossroads causes us to be in siege questing still. That's why we just leave the Crossroads right where it is. At the beginning of the quest phase, each player takes a hidden card, so you can see the toggle there. But no more is there anything to do with hidden cards at the beginning of combat. It does say, though, that if a player has 5 hidden cards, he must turn them face up. So, things could get hairy if we accumulated too many of them. If the players defeat the stage, they've won the game. We're still in player attacks, and Boromir has the option to attack and destroy, hopefully, an enemy. I think it makes sense to go ahead and either one, because we could use Swift Strike against. Let's go ahead and get rid of Brutal Uruk. So we're going to attack for 3 and destroy Brutal Uruk. 3 against 1 defeats him, and there's no Legolas response. I think we already used Boromir's action for the phase. I think we defended against Orc Arsonist, but we also played behind strong walls. So let me look at my player log and try to remember what I did. Okay, yeah, there we go. This was during this phase. I've already readied Boromir, raised my threat by 1 to do it. I readied him from playing the card, then I readied him. So yeah, he's done his action once per phase. So he is done. So I have no more way to attack or destroy or no more actions. So at the end of the combat phase, we discard shadow cards and we will ready. And of course, Boromir's boost from behind strong walls goes away. So now he just is boosted by the Gondorian shield. And we will move on to the next round, resource phase. Let's go ahead and attach Blade of Gondolin to... Let me think about this. So during the combat phase, I can use Goblin Cleaver to just destroy Orc Arsonist outright. I could destroy Evil Crow, but actually I could just defend with Boromir. I don't need to worry about Swift Strike this round, I don't think, but Swift Strike plus Gondorian Spearman is good. You just run the risk of losing Gondorian Spearman due to an Orc Ambusher. How many of those guys are in the discard pile? 1, 2, 3. So there's one more out there, but there's 17 cards. It's very unlikely that's what I'm going to deal with. So let's go ahead and we spent 2 resources, I think. Yeah, remove 1 and 1. So let's put out Gondorian Spearman, and we're going to leave 2 resources ready for Swift Strike, because if we got an enemy that came out that has 3 health, we can deal with that between Gondorian Spearman and with Swift Strike. All right, so we are going to move on to questing, and at the beginning of the quest phase, we do take a hidden card, and we'll put it face down in our play area. Let's quest with Baragond and with Boromir, but we're going to leave Gondorian Spearman ready. And we reveal Scourge of Mordor. When revealed, each player discards the top card of his deck. Until the end of the phase, raise the total threat in the staging area by X. X is the total cost of all cards discarded by this effect. So that's going to be +2. So we made 3 progress. That was for the phase. And now during travel, I don't want to travel here. Don't want to take a hidden card, because as soon as we get 5, we have to reveal them face up. All right, so we have 2 enemies to deal with here. I think I'd rather save my Goblin Cleaver. So let's go ahead and use Gondorian Spearman and spend 2 resources. We're defending against Orc Arsonist. And so, response, Gondorian Spearman. After Gondorian Spearman is declared as a defender, deal 1 damage to the attacking enemy. And in response, we just paid for it. Response, after a character is declared as a defender, which is true, Gondorian Spearman was, deal 2 damage to the attacking enemy. So he is destroyed. And what was the shadow? Mordor looms. Okay, so that's done. And now Evil Crow is going to attack for 1. But let's ready Boromir and defend. 1 against 4. Shadow says deal an additional card and no shadow effect. So Boromir defends, and I don't have to ready Boromir. I already did this combat phase anyway, but let's attack with Legolas for 4 and destroy Evil Crow. And his response kicks in after he participates in an attack that destroys an enemy. Place 2 progress tokens on the current quest. So we're up to 5, just kind of eking our way through here. And we will refresh. And we have no enemies engaged with us. It's pretty good. We're dealing with things very good. We got a Defender of Ramos that'll help us with the needed defense that we can use for siege questing. And then just to keep us safe here, I should have discarded the Swift Strike. I have a choice to either put out a Vassal of the Windlord, which could protect us against an Orc Ambusher, or I could put out a Blade of Gondolin. Let's go ahead and put out Vassal of the Windlord, and we'll protect these allies. We can quest with both of them. So we're going to quest as heavily as we can. We'll leave Legolas ready. Obviously, we won't quest with Vassal of the Windlord, but this will give us 10 progress, assuming nothing else comes out. But we do have to take a hidden card at the beginning of the quest phase before committing characters, and we reveal Dark Woods. We made 8 progress. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we didn't quite destroy or finish captured. We're in round 4. I know it feels like we're deeper into the game, but just round 4. So during the travel phase, we could travel to Dark Woods if we want. And might as well, because there's no negative effect. It's 2 threat versus 2 progress either way. So let's travel here. And it says forced. After the Dark Woods leaves play as an explored location, the first player discards 1 hidden card. So at the beginning of the combat phase, we do have to apply a point of archery damage. X is the number of players in the game. So let's put that archery damage on Legolas. And Legolas, if we had an enemy, he could attack and destroy it, and that 2 progress would have been placed on Dark Woods, but it's fine. Next round, I think we're going to win here. Refresh. And there's no effect at all in the round other than at the beginning of the quest phase. So next round. And we can go ahead and put a second weapon onto Legolas. And this will give him +1 when attacking an orc. And it'll boost his response to actually ultimately +3 progress. Let's also put another Blade of Gondolin into play. And so we'll attach that to Boromir. And we're going to quest, I think, for the victory here. And remember why I have Vassal of the Windlord, really, ultimately. I mean, sometimes it's good to have a chump, or he can attack back. Same thing with Knights of the Swan. They're just cheap allies that help satisfy the effect of Orc Ambusher. Let's see what we get. It is Dark Woods. We made 8 progress, so 6 on the current quest. This leaves play. Well, we should have taken a hidden card. And I know that I didn't get the actual top one off the deck, but it was random anyway. So we made 8 progress. We cleared this, and we discarded the hidden card in the process. What was that? And it wasn't turn it face up. It was just discard it. So we have made 19 progress, and we won it in round 5, which is about as lengthy a game as I usually see. So what made this quest maybe a little more difficult was that point in time when we decided, hey, let's turn these 3 cards face up, and each one of them was an enemy. Even Faramir's action, which we used, revealed a brutal Uruk. So we had a lot of enemies to deal with, but as you can see, this deck had a lot of solutions. Could be a problem if you don't have card draw, so I like to at least have had 1 foe hammer, but you can get a little static, and you could be unlucky enough not to see a Winged Guardian or a Defender of Ramos. I mean, I like having Vassal of the Windlord and Knights of the Swan, but if that's all you had, you'd be in trouble. And, getting the Gondorian shield on Boromir is always good. But that is it. That's the quest, and I enjoy that quest a lot. I like these types of quests that force you out of the usual rhythm, and you can't really turtle, so a completely different strategy is needed, and I'm always a fan of that. Well, thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the playthrough, and we will continue on. The next quest will be the 3rd standalone that was released. It is the Stone of Eric. So looking forward to showing you that, and I hope you'll join me then. Thank you again for joining me. Have a great day. Bye.